Welcome back to the Money Focus Podcast. I'm your host, Moses the Mentor. And on this episode, I'm joined by Rob Boyd. He's an innovative mind who helped create an app called the Wealth Builders Community app. And with his passion for financial education, it led him to create this platform and empower professionals and business owners to build wealth through their own knowledge. So from working for major banks to creating accessible financial content, his journey is simply inspiring as it is educational. So let's dive into his story and get a better understanding of where he's coming from. Hey, Rob, appreciate you joining the show. And the first thing I like for my guests to do is to give a breakdown of their career journey and ultimately what inspired you to start your company. So the floor is yours.
Wow. Beginning of my career was one of those scenarios where it happened in a class at Howard University. And I realized I had a gift with understanding finance, understanding economics. And I pursued that throughout my tenure at Howard and ultimately went into the economic research field right out of school. And that being about, at this point, 13 years ago. Ever since then, I've always been in some realm of the financial world, either in banking, financial advisory, also doing economic research in real estate, and now in financial education. So my school experience was what really led to everything afterwards in relation to finance.
So you went to Howard. Are you originally from that DC area?
No, I'm actually originally from Durham, North Carolina. And Howard was one of those kind of out of the blue, I'll just apply, see what happens scenarios. And I got in, and the rest was history. Howard definitely changed the trajectory of my life. It just showed me what was possible, especially when it comes to, Black professionalism, going through the rankings of corporate America and just understanding what that even was. I think Howard was a great space to prepare me for just understanding how to navigate corporate America.
That's a great point. A lot of folks that, attend college, they struggle once they actually leave that academic environment to make that adjustment to corporate America. So what are some things that they helped you and prepared you for at Howard to make that transition a whole lot more successful?
Yeah, I think Howard was great at preparing for a couple different things. The interview process, resume building, just understanding what a company would want and need from you as an employee. Howard is great at lining you up with internships, summer internships in particular, also job fairs, and a lot of companies in the DC area. We're always at the job fairs giving pointers to students about how to prepare for the interview process or some of the things that you have to focus on as an entry-level employee. I think those experiences were invaluable to just understanding what to expect coming out of school.
Yeah, that's huge. That's huge. And I appreciate you giving that breakdown. So ultimately, when you got out of Howard, what was your first job?
So my first job was at this company called CoStar Group. And CoStar Group is known for commercial real estate information. And I was a researcher and analyst at CoStar Group. And that's where I really learned the ins and outs of the commercial real estate world. And being that I had a financial understanding of how things worked, especially from school, it helped me venture into the space of real estate finance and understanding how the money works in the real estate industry. And that first job was my springboard to a lot of different opportunities. I got the opportunity to go to Georgetown for a master's in real estate finance. I had the opportunity to meet Warren Buffett. A lot of different things that happened in that period of 23, 24, 25, where there was like, oh, this is, a whole new world. But I felt like, I was destined to take that path. And, I just wanted to do as much as I could in the financial space from some of those experiences.
Real estate finance as a degree. That's cool. Yeah, make me want to go back to school and I might pursue that. So ultimately, as you transition into entrepreneurship, like how did that happen? Like walk me through, these roles that you had, and then ultimately how you landed in the entrepreneur lane?
Yeah, I think the very first job I had out of school, I realized and I learned something about myself. I realized that I wasn't built and I wasn't going to be great at being an employee. And I think now it's a popular term that I hear floating around that some people are unemployable, and what I take that as is my ideas, the things I wanted to do, the impact that I wanted to have. I think, what I accepted as my life mission, I wasn't going to be able to really execute that in a role where, I have a certain job task and certain responsibilities. And, that's what I'm assessed on and what I'm measured by. And I just felt like I was much bigger than some of the things that I had the opportunity to do in that first job. And it really lit the entrepreneurial fire in me early on in my early 20s. And so my very first experience, I wouldn't say it was full entrepreneurship, but I ventured out to open my own financial advisory office in DC. And at 25, a lot of people don't take you serious as a financial advisor. But one of the things that I learned in the process of doing that is that people really see that you're passionate about a topic and also know that you're well versed in a topic. It really doesn't matter how old you are. And I had an opportunity. I was using, a platform that gave me access to a lot of financial products. And I started my journey with understanding, how to pay business bills, how to pay for an office, how to, make sure we have supplies, how to build a team, how to recruit. A lot of those things I learned early on in my career, and learning those things at 25, 26, 27 years old gave me a great crash course to what, full-fledged entrepreneurship and starting a company from scratch would really be like. And I've just continued to use and improve those skills over the years.
To be able to say that at 24, 25, 26, I mean, you was definitely ahead of the game. So just out of curiosity, I mean, most of your peers were probably not thinking in that lane. So, like, how did you, or maybe they were, maybe you did have a group of people that had entrepreneurial outlook or just really wanted to do some bigger things. But just kind of talk about your experiences with your peers at that time in case you were like an outsider. Like, how did that feel? Being around, a bunch of people that have probably that YOLO mentality and clubbing and going out and doing this and doing that. And at the same time, you were sitting there thinking about building a business. How did that feel?
At times, I'll be honest, at times it was frustrating. It was at times disheartening to just sometimes feel as though what you're aiming for and what you're interested in, some of your peers aren't really there and really focused on it. And you kind of feel like you're being pulled in two different directions, because in your 20s, you're like, oh, I want to have fun. I'm making money for the first time. Like, I want to enjoy it. And also there's a part of me that was like, man, this is a once in a lifetime opportunity to really make the most of some of the things that I'm doing. And I got to lock in and focus on them. But I also, don't want to feel as though kind of left some of my friends and peers hanging just because, I had a distinct, purpose or idea that I wanted to build upon. And so it really felt at times like you really don't have many people to talk to that relate to how you're feeling. And you feel somewhat alone, and you're just kind of going through things in your head. You're in your head a lot. And as I actually started to share more of my aspirations and goals with some of my peers, I realized that many others had the same aspirations. And it was kind of a surprise, because from the outside, I just didn't know until I actually started to be more open about what I was feeling and what I was thinking. And I realized a good deal of my friends were actually, thinking about, hey, like, I don't want to, work behind a desk and, be in corporate America for 30, 40 years like my parents were. I want to do something different and creative and impactful and give myself an opportunity to really build wealth by building a business around ideas that I have. And that was actually a common thing amongst some of my peers that I didn't even know they were thinking about as well.
Oh, yeah. You said three things that I just want to add some color to. Well, The first being that it is lonely at times when you're pursuing your entrepreneurial dreams or just thinking with a wealth mindset because we are a consumption economy, and we're told that in our 20s we should be going for broke and we're young and to splurge and do all that. But honestly, I feel like that's a trap, because in your 20s, it's an opportunity where most people are truly single. They don't have children. They're fresh out of college. They have a lot of energy. That's the opportunity for you to just go full steam ahead and not really take a step back. Because what happens is if you don't take advantage of that time, then life starts to happen, the life events. You start getting married. You might have a partner who doesn't have the same belief system in entrepreneurship or aspirations to grow a business. You have children, and everybody knows, when you start having kids, it's a lot of money. So you just start, maybe even progressing in your career. So you start weighing the pros and cons like, hey, I got this great job on paper. I might dread it every day, but it pays well. Should I take energy away from that job and try to start a business? It's just tough. So I really feel like what I want to do on my platform is really educate young people to say, hey, take advantage of this time when you don't have those overarching, responsibilities. And it's truly just you. You can just say, hey, I'll sleep in a bedroom, I'll stay at home with my parents, if I could, just to stack up your money, focus on your vision, and stay targeted to actually bring your company to fruition. The second thing I wanted to touch on is something I'll be honest, I didn't do. Maybe that would have helped because I definitely felt lonely at times when I was growing my business. Is to just talk more open about it. Sometimes you just assume people don't, have these aspirations, right? So the fact that you start being open and telling people and telling your peers about what you were doing, that built a community. And I'm sure that probably helped elevate your business know-how as you grew your company. So I thought that was cool. How does your personal philosophy influence the builders community that you have?
That's a great question. I think my personal philosophy, not only on money, but my personal philosophy on life is that, there's no bounds. There are really no restrictions to what you can accomplish in life. And I think that philosophy came from understanding and seeing where I grew up and the environment that I grew up in and some of the realities that were in my environment when I was younger. And now seeing some of the other, ends of the spectrum as far as money, wealth, business ownership, seeing the world, traveling. My own personal experience has really taught me that it really doesn't pay and it really doesn't benefit you to operate with limiting beliefs. And sometimes you might not be aware that you have them and you might have some blind spots, but my whole philosophy around life and being that you can really do anything you really set your mind to, I use that to make sure that as I create education content in the Wealth Builders community and just think about what people may need to be exposed to or learn about in order to have a greater sense of belief in themselves and what they can accomplish financially. I think my own personal philosophy that came from my own life experiences is embedded in how, I teach financial information and just generally how we as a company create content, not only to educate you, but to inspire you and empower you mentally and emotionally to say, hey, I can do this. I've seen real examples. I feel even more confident in myself and what I can accomplish, and making sure the context of our content does that 24/7. And so I think that's how my own personal philosophy is embedded in how we educate our users and our members in our community and on our platform, is that there's really no limit unless you yourself set the limit on what you can accomplish. And that, I think, has really inspired a lot of people, of our members, thousands of people, to say, hey, I grew up a certain way. My parents didn't know this. Nobody taught me this in school. But now I have this information, and it's a matter of what I choose to do with the information. No one can stop me from using this information, and I think that's the baseline or the foundation of how my philosophy is embedded in our educational content.
And that's so cool. Just access to information is key. Now, you can't make people apply it. What the goal is to give people access and to make it as engaging as possible so people will want to put it into application in their life. But I think it's just a great cause. It's one that we both share as far as, providing financial education to people. So kudos to you. So appreciate that. What's the most rewarding aspect of creating your financial education platform?
Wow. Uh, I would say the most rewarding part of it is seeing. Well, this is actually really really detailed, but this is what first came to mind when I see the reactions of people who, for the very first time, earned a dividend from a stock, and there you can literally see whether it's a typed out comment, and sometimes we have video testimonies that are sent in. When people realize that it's really not that difficult to put yourself in a position where some huge, large, successful company pays you for the success that they worked for, that just blows people's mind. And the responses to those kind of moments is something that never gets old, because you literally see someone break free from some of the limiting beliefs that they may have had around money, and you see it happen in real time. And I've seen it happen hundreds and thousands of times with our members and our users, and it never gets old. And I think that seeing that happen over and over again and wanting to see more and more people have that kind of moment for themselves, that's what really drives us to make everything that we do excellent and make sure we operate at a standard where we can give that reality to millions of people.
And just for the sake of the audience, I have varying exposure levels to investments. Can you quickly or just at a high level just give an explanation of what a dividend
Sure.
is for the audience?
So a dividend is a monetary payment to an investor that you receive for owning stock or owning shares in a company. So, companies like Verizon, Procter and Gamble, Walmart, Target, all of these large businesses that we probably shop with or buy products and services from, they voluntarily choose to say, hey, I want to, attract people who invest in our company. And in order to do so, we're willing to pay out a portion of the profit that we make as a business to you as an investor, as a shareholder of our company. And a dividend is what that payment to you is called. And for so long, we have been in a consumer mindset where, okay, these are the stores that I shop at. These are the places that I buy things from. But very rarely I've thought about the idea of, oh, that company can actually pay me the same way that I pay them for a good or service. And so a dividend is simply a payment you receive as a shareholder, as an investor in a business, for the success and the financial success that they have on a regular basis.
Yeah, and I appreciate you giving that explanation because that's key. I mean, all these people that are going buying iPhones, and you can take that $1,000 for an iPhone and get you $1,000 in iPhones and not iPhone, Apple stock.
That's very true.
Now again, $1,000 in Apple stock, you start small. I mean, because your dividend income obviously increases with the number of shares that you have. But, if you're a young professional, even middle-aged professional, you reinvest your dividends. When you get older, you can have a substantial dividend portfolio. And you literally don't have to do anything. You just are, reaping the benefits of the companies that you believe in their success. So you can buy one iPhone, but then say, hey, I'm gonna commit to putting $1,000 in Apple stock, for example, or any other business that you really believe in their services. You believe that they have a long road of profitability. You put your money into that company, you take advantage of the appreciation of the stock, meaning that the price goes up, so your net worth goes up. But then at the same time, you're getting this dividend income for truly just being in the game. And that's the issue. We don't have enough players in the game at times because we're constantly spending our money into just liabilities.
Correct.
So that's key. So I want to talk a little bit about your experience in bank consulting. How do you feel like that, impacted your ability to provide financial education to the community?
That actually was very pivotal to my ability to, educate people around money. Growing up, I guess I got to give a backstory to really tell why that step in my career was so important. So growing up, me, elementary school age into middle school, my mom worked in a bank, and as a single parent, and it was not always days where we had, some of the necessities and things that, the luxuries that I'm able to experience now in life weren't a reality. And I could never understand that, why or how my mom works with money all day, counts money all day as a bank teller, but yet we didn't have a lot of money at home. And it just never made sense to me. It really sparked my curiosity as a young child. I just didn't understand, like, Ma, you work with money all day. Why don't we have a lot of it? And that curiosity, now that I can look back, I think is one of the things that, led me to even pursue this as a career and being in finance, because that curiosity was birthed when I was 8, 9, 10 years old. And so now as a professional, having the opportunity to consult banks specifically around something called CRA, which is the Community Reinvestment Act, which is a law that was enacted in 1977 to kind of combat some of the effects of redlining. And it's a law that requires banks to do a couple different things, whether it's service related, lending related, or investment related. There had to be things that banks do in low to moderate income communities around services, lending, and investment. And what I did is I went to various banks across the Southeast in particular and made sure that their executives understood how to be effective with providing services and lending and investing in low to moderate income communities. And throughout that experience, I learned so much about banking in general, kind of being behind the scenes and being behind the curtain, and recognizing and understanding that it is not financially beneficial to a bank to educate their, account holders. Like, people always think, oh, a bank should teach me about money.
Yeah.
And that's not how their business model works. That is not in their business. So once I realized that and really saw that up close around, how they struggled to, provide some level of education in order to attract new customers and new account holders and things of that nature that help the bank grow as a business, I realized there was a gap, and that a bank would never be able to fill that gap, which is to truly and effectively educate consumers about money. And being in that space of banking consulting and seeing that gap, I really understood the power of the opportunity to help build a platform and a business around financial education, because it was a space that needed to be filled, that some of the existing financial services companies and banks just weren't equipped and also didn't see a benefit in filling.
They definitely don't want you to be smart with money, because if you're going to be smart with money, you're not going to need their services as much. And you're probably also going to use your money in a way that's more advantageous to the growth of your portfolio. So, what people don't understand about a bank is that they literally make money off of your money. So a lot of times people come into the bank and they say, okay, well, I want to put my money in the bank. It's this safe haven. I can use my debit card and have this illusion that I'm using my money wisely. But essentially, when you put your money into a bank, they're going to say, okay, well, thank you. If it's a checking account, they'll give you some benefits to use for free, all in the cloud, all electronic stuff that really doesn't cost them that much. If it's a savings account, they'll give you point zero zero whatever percentage out there, right? Just to get your money in there. You're thinking, okay, well, I have a savings account, right? But that savings account doesn't even keep up with inflation. So you're literally losing money every day, and people can't grasp that because they like, well, I had $100 last month and it's still $100 in there. But no, month over month, year over year, the value of your money goes down. And one of the fundamental things that you must know about money, even if you're not a financial consultant or something like that, you have to know that your money has to keep up with inflation to at least maintain its value. So if we're at a 2%, 2 to 3% normalized inflation rate, if you're not getting 2 to 3% back on your money, you're losing money. So putting your money in a savings account might feel safe, but in fact, the bank is saying, oh, thank you, Rob. Thank you, Moses. And I'll give you these pennies on a dollar and then go ahead and fulfill a mortgage, do a business loan. They're pretty much putting your money to work in different mediums and avenues, right? For people to borrow from them, and then they're charging that high interest, credit cards, things like that, installment loans, home equity lines. These are all things that they're using as products, and they position them as these are great for you and beneficial. But that spread of collecting these deposits and then lending that money and collecting the interest payments is what is how they actually make money over time. So the last thing they want you to do is to make smart financial decisions day over day, month over month, year over year, because then their profitability goes down. So that's key.
Very true. And one of the things I've learned about the education process is because I was never, a trained educator. I learned how to educate through stories and examples. And one of the things that I think needs to be made clear is that there is a stark difference between the safety of your money and access to your money. And sometimes, people assume that they both, mean the same thing. Like you want to have the ability to access your money quickly and easily, whether it's a debit card, being able to withdraw your money and put it somewhere where you can get it back quickly. That's access. But, when you think about what does it mean for my money to be safe, that might not really fall into the category of a bank account if you equate safety with my money holding its value. And so one of the things I always share with people as an analogy that I think helps people is that if you had a tire on your car that was always slowly leaking air, would you call that a good tire? And you were like, no, like if it's slowly leaking air, it's not a good tire. All right, well then if that's the case, the value of your money in a bank account is slowly dwindling. And so if you wouldn't say that that's a good tire, then you probably wouldn't label this as a good place for your money to sit. And once you break it down like that, it's like, oh, I understand conceptually now what inflation is when I mirror it with an example of a tire that has a slow leak, because that's relatable and everybody knows what that's like. And nobody would say that that's a good tire.
Exactly. And, the slow leak analogy pre-pandemic probably hit home for a lot of people. Like, yeah, that made a lot of sense. But that leak hasn't been that slow the last few years, So, that leak is a full-blown, it's almost a blowout compared to, how much things cost now because of the rise of inflation. Now things are starting to stabilize, but even where we are now is not where we were pre-pandemic. We're just much lower year over year. So we're trending in the right direction, and we hope that it stays this way. But at the same time, people now talk about inflation a whole lot more because they feel it. When you talk to your grandparents or your parents and they say, "Oh, I remember this was a nickel," you're like, "Ah, okay, that was way before my time." But when you're literally going into the store and 2, 3 years ago, an item was $2 and now consistently on sale it's $4, that's something you feel. That's something that's real to you. When you know that home values are going through the roof, yet it doesn't look like they're gonna come like slamming down. It's not gonna happen. So when your money is not keeping up with that level of inflation, now there's such a huge need for affordable housing because, a starter home is just not a starter home anymore, you know? So great, great, great information. Appreciate that. Let's talk a little bit about your app, right? And particularly your app, the content. How do you keep your content engaging and relatable? What are some of your practices to do that?
I think first and foremost, the number one practice is being a human. You have to have some life experiences. You have to be tapped into what's going on in the world to make sure, the analogies that you may create, the live events that you may host, that it really relates to the everyday person's experience. Because my partner and I, like, she would say, like, this isn't all about money. This experience and being on our app is really about the gradual personal growth process, the personal development process, because you have to grow as a person if you want to see improvement in your finances, not the other way around. And oftentimes people think, oh, once I get, my finances together, I'll be able to work on other areas of my life and, get better around certain dynamics of, personal growth and personal development, when it's in actuality the other way around. And you have to make the process of personal growth and personal development attractive and engaging so that someone does hold true to applying the financial information and education you may give them. Because I could tell you, what a stock is, and you can now say, oh, I know the definition of a stock. But if you haven't gotten to a space where you learn how to hold true to your priorities, and you know the value of being consistent, things that are just true on a personal level, no matter what the topic is, then you may not consistently invest or use the information that I have given you that may relate to your finances. So the thing that we do to keep, our content engaging is making sure that people feel a sense of progress on a human level by way of the things that we share and provide and resources that we give them, so that they feel progress, because someone is more likely to act on information if they feel that they are progressing, more so than acting on information based off of, this grandiose goal that they've set in the future. Someone has to feel progress to stay committed to a process. So what we do on our platform is making sure that we have, tools and resources around personal growth and development. We have a book club. We have discussions around challenges that we have in real life. How do you, continue to grow when some of your peers or family members aren't supportive? Like, having those discussions and making sure someone is fed on a human level and understanding how to navigate general things in life so that those things never get in the way of them applying the financial information. And that's really what the secret sauce, or what our formula is, to making sure people take advantage and execute on the financial education, and report back to us about their investing progress, and they got a life insurance policy now, and they understand their 401k, all of these things that we provide education around. But people will not make decisions and act on the education unless they're more confident in who they are and feel more empowered on a personal level and on a human level. So that's really what changes our information from just being, education and information, into like an empowering fuel for your life. So that's that's how we've grown our community to this point, and why, companies ask us to come in and do seminars, workshops, provide, access to our app to their employees, to the individuals that come to us by way of finding us on social media, on LinkedIn, on Instagram, and some of the things that we share with the world. And people want to see those results for themselves, and they join our community.
And that was an amazing answer, man. That was a whole lot more than I even expected. I think that's a great answer and a great approach. And I really appreciate you enlightening the audience with that. I do agree wholeheartedly that money alone will not fix things. You know, you have to change your mindset. And if you guys have those tools and resources to kind of help people grow within a positive view on how to actually handle their money and manage their money, I think that's perfect. I definitely think that progress is key. I definitely know that education is key. So we just got to really make it cool for people to understand that the basics, the foundation of financial education is essential. So we just need to have the foundations be like really crystal clear, because we know the parties on the other side that are collecting our money, they're not looking to educate us. What future developments do you foresee in the field of financial education?
Wow, that's actually, man, the future developments that I see, or that I'm aware of, that are on the way, is how AI is either going to help someone, grow their basis of financial knowledge, how some of the financial tools are going to use artificial intelligence, and really, when it comes down to financial education, all of the things that, the new technologies that may be connected to finances in some way, that you will also need to learn about. So, when it comes to financial education, I think one of the most important things that somehow, some way gets lost in the discussion around financial education is digital literacy. And if you are not digitally literate, there are going to be a lot of things financially that you do not have the ability to do or to keep up with if you don't have a certain level of digital literacy. So I think the changes or the developments in financial education don't only, center around financial topics or financial accounts or vehicles. Financial education more and more every day requires elements of digital literacy. So thinking about, segments of our population who might not be great with using, mobile devices or computers and accessing, their financial information using technology, that is a part of, or under the umbrella of, financial education, to say, hey, I got to make sure you understand how to log in and sign into an account online just as much as you need to know how the money in the account grows. So I think one of the biggest developments I personally have seen or am seeing with financial education is also the learning curve around being able to use a lot of the digital tools that will enable you to access your money.
Wow. And when it comes to AI, you bring an excellent point that this AI wave is a real thing. And unfortunately, I do speak to some folks, and they look at it like it's a far out there concept, you know, and people need to understand like there's people actively using AI now and have been. And if you don't get on the AI train now, you're going to be far behind, far behind. I watched, you probably seen this clip. There was a clip with Bryant Gumbel and Katie Couric, I think in like the early 90s, and they were talking about
Yep.
email. And they sitting on the couch, and they pretty much like, well, why would I send an electronic mail? Like, why would I do that? You know, I like my mail in the mailbox. They were just so down on change. And when I watched that, I said, whoa, like that was really the mindset of people at that time. And now you fast forward 20 years later, you, shoot, I hardly even look at paper mail, you
Hmm.
know? So I think this evolution of AI integration and making people's lives easier is going to happen a whole lot faster than the implementation of the World Wide Web. And I think people need to be ready for it because it's not a I don't think it's going to be like a job loss thing. I think in certain segments it will have some job loss, but I think it's all going to be about taking it to the next level and freeing people up. And I want to be to the forefront of those things. My wife is at the forefront of those things. She teaches me a lot about AI, right? And she actually is going to be speaking on it later this year at a conference. So I have it in my household, right? So I kind of got the cheat code, just constantly being around her as she implemented, and then I've used it in my business at times. So the thing people need to be worried about is not AI replacing people, but as they say, people that use AI replacing people. That's the
Right.
difference. So people need to get on the wave for sure. I don't know if you have anything to add with that, but it's coming.
Yeah, no, I agree. And it's going to be, in so many parts of our lives that, as you said, it cannot be taken lightly. And I know I'm very familiar with that clip that you're speaking about. And AI is kind of like the second evolution of the internet.
People think it's a Google search. I'm telling you, it's not that. It's not that. RPA, robotics process automation. Whew, real
It's a
thing.
lot,
People need to get on board with
right?
that, So what would you say? What is some advice that you would give to someone who's starting their journey in financial education?
For someone who's just starting their journey in improving their life financially, I think the best thing that you could do first, which sometimes is really skipped over, is being clear on what you want for yourself and your family, having a vision for what you would like your life to look like, whether it's short term, long term, and really just understanding, all right, what am I aiming at? What am I looking to accomplish in my life, period? And then having that as a basis or as a reference to then understanding what do I need to do financially to make that vision a reality. And starting with yourself is the most important part of a financial improvement journey, is to be clear on what you want, why you want it, and then understanding that that is actually what you refer to and what you reference in order to point you in the right direction of what you may need to learn how to do with your money that creates that vision or turns that vision into a reality. Understanding what you want and why, to say, okay, like everybody could probably say, I want $1 million. That's the what. Okay, well, why would, that be important to you? And what would that empower you to be able to do for yourself and your family, and not just go on vacation? Because it doesn't take $1 million to go on vacation. Like what's the real why behind that number, or whatever your number may be? Because if it's an empty kind of, I pull the number out of the hat kind of scenario, I can't guarantee it, but it's very likely that you will not, follow through on the process to get to that point if there aren't a lot of things that you care about supporting why that particular number of financial goals is important to you. So being clear on what you want and why is the very first step. And then that will point you in the direction, because many people say, I don't know if I want to learn how to invest, or if I want to learn how to trade, or if I want to get into cryptocurrency, or like, people don't really know what area of the financial space they want to either get stronger in or get better at. And a lot of times the reason that there's uncertainty there is because you don't actually have an idea of what you want to accomplish and why. And so you have no way of even having something that gives you context on what may be helpful to get there, because you don't know what you want for yourself. And I think that's the very first step of the process. And sometimes, that process requires some things you may not have expected, to say, all right, well, thinking about the things that I want makes me think about the things I don't have. the things that I feel as though I lack. And sometimes thinking about those things can be traumatic emotionally. It can be, traumatic mentally. Because once you ask somebody what they want, usually the first place their mind goes is what they don't have. And that is something that you might need professional help and assistance to say, man, I need to work through these feelings of how I feel about money. I might need to get the assistance of a therapist or accountability partner or trusted friend that I may need to really be able to talk with and be able to share my thoughts with, so I can just be in a space where I have a more healthy relationship with the things that I desire in life, and not always thinking about what I don't have when I'm trying to think about the things that I would like to attract into my life. So that's where it first starts. It has nothing to do with definitions of stocks or accounts. That is not where the journey starts. It starts with who you are, what you want, and why.
I would just also add, and once you identify that, take action. Take action. Don't feel sorry for yourself. Don't beat yourself up. But once you identify it, really, really put a plan in action so you can actually achieve your goals. Because a goal without a plan is a wish. Let me repeat that. A goal without a plan is a wish. And I don't know about you, I'm not trying to be wishing for nothing right now. I'm praying for stuff, but a wish is not what I want. I want to make sure that my goals are being achieved, and my part is implementing a plan and having my steps in place so I can move forward. So yeah, I appreciate that breakdown. What final thoughts or advice would you like to share with the audience? And then also, if you can close us out with how we can reach you, how can we access the Wealth Builders app, and also how can we connect with you on social media? That'd be great.
Sure. Final thoughts. I think this is probably the first time I've actually shared this story on a podcast, but recently to start the year, I do a lot of reflecting on where I am in life right now, where I want to go, and really truly digging deep on some of those whys that I just referred to. Because if you have identified the right why, you will never have an issue with acting on it. Whenever you have a moment where you're not acting on the things that you say you want, there might be a scenario where that's not really something that matters to you. It's something that the world told you mattered to you, not what you told yourself mattered to you. So if you ever have an issue with procrastination or anything like that, you probably haven't identified a why that's truly real to you. And when I think about what, where I am and what I would love to leave with, the audience and whoever's listening, earlier this month, I thought about what really sparked my ambition earlier in life and what really helped me believe that, I could help create a multi-billion-dollar business ultimately. And here's what actually did it. And this is the thing that I haven't ever shared before. I was a junior at Howard, and there is an event called the Charter Day Dinner. So it's usually in the spring and around the time that Howard University was chartered as a university back in 1867. And every year there's a dinner to honor some of the alumni, the notable alumni from the school that they've either given back or just really moved the school's brand forward based on their own individual success in the business world, in the philanthropic world, just all over the place. And I was an usher at this Charter Day dinner as a junior through 1867, which was a club basketball team at Howard University. And we had a leadership program for all of the people who were on the basketball team. And I was the usher to a gentleman named Christopher Williams. Now, Christopher Williams runs the Williams Capital Group and is now one of the partners to a prolific woman by the name of Suzanne Shank. And that night, when I was, I greeted Mr. Williams when they arrived at in the lobby of the hotel, and showed him where the VIP reception area was, and showed him where his table was in the huge ballroom of the Washington Hilton in DC. And in that moment, my coach and also, one of my mentors in life, my basketball coach at Howard, he told me, he said, Rob, like, I want you to make sure that, Mr. Williams is taken care of, answer his questions. This is a very important individual. And at that point in time, I didn't know who he was. And, when he told me that this was before the night started, I was like, let me do a quick Google. And I realized that this man ran a multi-million-dollar investment group and was responsible for managing hundreds of millions and billions of dollars. And it really struck me that night that, this is just a normal Black man that I'm just sitting here talking to, showing through the hotel. And at that point, it became a reality to me that, hey, if, he walks like I walk, talks like I talk, and he's had a tremendous amount of success in the business space, and he's a Howard alumni, and I'm about to graduate from Howard next year, that there's actually nothing that could stop me from seeing the success that he's seen because he's made it real. And in that moment, my mind was on fire. And I really started to think big about life because I was able to literally reach out and touch an example that, showed me that, hey, you could really be super successful in the financial world, not just get a job at an investment bank and be an analyst, but run, a huge financial company. And so the reason I bring that up and the reason I think that's valuable to everyone that may be listening to this is that sometimes you got to get close enough to success to believe it. And wherever you are in life, you might feel as though, hey, I don't know how to start. I don't know where to start. Do whatever you have to do. Invest in yourself. Pay to go to a conference. Pay for coaching. Invest in yourself in a way that just puts you in the space to be able to really see the success that you want to see for yourself. See it up close and personal, possibly somebody else's success, because it will just increase your level of belief in yourself, because it will just give you an example of what you envision in your mind can actually truly be real. And when I thought about that earlier this month, and I just thought about our company's gotten to past the $1 million mark on an annual basis. And, we're a multi-million-dollar company. And here I am, I grew up, in the not so good part of North Durham. And now, in my 30s, part of a business that's making millions of dollars, every year. I'm like, what makes me special or different? I was like, nothing really. It's just that when I saw examples of success, it heightened my level of belief, and I operate not that in a way that, oh, this could happen. I operate in a way that this will happen. It's just a matter of time. And the only reason I had that shift is because I was very close to examples of the level of success that I dreamed about. And so wherever you are in life, however you're feeling about, your current circumstances, find a way to put yourself in the vicinity of the growth and the success you want to see for yourself, because sometimes you don't need a secret formula. There's no secret to success. A lot of times it just starts with, what do you believe you're capable of? And a lot of times that belief comes from seeing examples up close and personal. So that's what I would leave with.
Amazing.
And then as far as connecting with me, finding me on social media, on all social medias, whether there's Twitter, Instagram, my handle or my @ is @THE, the Rob Boyd. So it's just THE and then my name. That's how you can find me on most social platforms. And as far as our education platform, getting into the mode of financial growth, financial improvement, personal development, one of the first things that I would share with everybody that it's a free resource. If you were to go to Amplify, which is the name of our company, is EMP IFY, Amplify. So we took the words empower and modify and made a word. Amplify.com/free guide. And you can download a guide that will just break down some basics about investing, but also make sure that you receive a lot of the updates and other free resources that we give out to those who have subscribed to our email list and get newsletters and updates about all the things that we offer. And of course, by doing so, you'll get information about our app community and being able to be connected with other like-minded people, working professionals, business owners who are just learning more about how to use their money in a more powerful way.
Excellent, excellent. And I'll make sure to include all of your contact information in the show notes. So again, I appreciate you joining my show and the audience. I hope you guys really soaked it up. This was a great show. I really want to say thank you again, Rob. And everybody go to his website. Make sure you connect with his community. And let's go ahead and get this financial education on the roll. Let's make it cool. So appreciate it.
Thank you.
We out. Thanks again, Rob, for sharing your incredible journey. And we had a valuable and insightful conversation. So I just really appreciate you taking the time to join the show and sharing a wealth of information for the audience. Your dedication to financial education is inspiring, and it's one that we both share. So again, I look forward to maintaining a close connection with you as we explore our passions within the financial education space. Also, I want to remind everybody to explore the Wealth Builders Community app that Rob has available. It's a valuable financial tool, so don't forget to do that. And then the last thing I don't want you to forget is to visit mosesthementor.com. Make sure you go there and check me out, and also subscribe to Moses the Mentor on YouTube for more empowering content like this, as well as rental property investing best practices. So until next time, stay focused and keep building on your financial future. Peace.